morning. How is everyone today? I just got out of the shower. My hair is still really wet. But I decided I was going to make quite an interesting video today. I just went to 2nd and Charles yesterday, and I found this most interesting old series of books, and I got a big chunk of the collection. I'm going to go on eBay and finish this collection. Basically, this is the collection. So there's like a ton of books I got, and here they are, and I'm going to go through all of them. They're quite interesting. So one thing I finally got from my husband was my books, just a part of them. But here's my bookshelf. I don't know if you can see it, with my books. And I'm going to incorporate my new books. This collection that I got is called Mysteries of the Unknown. And it's put out by Time Life Books and 1989. Now, I got these books and I opened them up and they were pristine. I'm like, these books have never been used in their existence. There wasn't a crease, a crack, a tear, nothing. They're like brand new. Look at this. Never been opened, just as pristine as you can begin to imagine. And I've noticed that there are people who buy books just to put on their shelves, and all the information inside is disregarded because it's some kind of facade for people to believe that they're educated. Now, whoever owned these books, this must have been the scenario. I'm believing somebody had passed away and they didn't want to throw the books away, so they put them to the 2nd and Charles, which is a used bookstore. But I digress. This is not why I came on today to talk about things. Today, we're going to talk about, where shall I set this camera at? Even though it's my phone, where I'm not all glared out. No, let us see. Maybe, oh, that's terrible. Maybe I should have set this up before I ever, try not to get a terrible glare in here. It's horrible. So, today we're going to talk about, oh, this is a terrible, oh, I really should have did this before I came in here. There's so much sun in here, it's just blaring out my camera. I'm so excited, I didn't even think about pre-setting up. It's that terrible. And I left my coffee, which I'll go get now. Coffee tastes hideous after you brush your teeth, but when I made the pot, needed to go get a shower. So, let me see where I'm going to set this at. Really wanted to rework my bookshelf to get all these books on here, but that's all right. Let's see if I can set this here. Is this called technical difficulties? I think this is called technical difficulties. Oh. Oh, I need it a little bit higher. We might be setting you on the books. Okay. So, hi everyone, how are you today? We're like in spring, so we have some days that are really warm and some days that are really cold. So I didn't know exactly how to dress, so I did half summer, half existing winter. So here we go. Today we're going to talk about chimera. What is a chimera? And when we're going to chimera something. Chimeras are creatures that have no business being together. They are genetically made in a lab somewhere. So our big discussion today is going to be in chimeraing, I guess if that's a word. So basically, I had been talking to several people, Campbell, Cullum, Arthur, Faith, Wendy, about all this stuff that the puzzle pieces just started slamming in, and it was overwhelming for me. So I've been diving deep on this in the last several days, actually. And, you know, everything in this reality is an inversion. Let's just start there. And then the next thing is, if you've watched previous videos, and if you haven't, this will be news to you. We are 1,000 years in this sim behind where we initially are at a point. but not all of us. This sim is also it's a sim, but it puts you into a point in a reality. Think of it as a portal door when you go into the sim, because it literally puts you into a different reality at a given point, wherever this is geared to. It's a lot. It's a lot of tech, because everything runs on a form of metaphysical, biological, and mechanical tech. I don't know how else to put that. No such thing as time or space, and everything is on a point. So, having that laid down, let's talk about these chimeras. I have always heard, and I'm sure you have too, through the truther community, we are a very important species, and they don't want anything to happen to our species. So, in this snow globe with our species, there has been a portion of us taken out of the mass and put over here and not tampered with, because we want our species to remain our species. They're called, right now, the Amish. So far, the Amish group, which comprises of millions, are humans, strictly. And they are not to be tampered with. And then we'll find out why they are not to be tampered with. And that this happens periodically with the powers that be, to make sure that humanity doesn't get completely annihilated. I don't know how else to say that. So, why am I talking about chimeraing right now? I'm talking about chimeraing because it came into me that we're always talking about this split, this overwhelming, metaphysical, and physical split in a reality. Do you remember when I just said we're 1,000 years behind? Well, in this reality sim, we are. And what came into me was that the split wasn't only a metaphysical to go into a higher D or even divide you up. Now let's talk about the divide you up. What if you wanted to go back? You were already created as a species, but you wanted to go back to your base root species. And you wanted to change things. Now, we've always been told we were comprised of many different races and beings. Yes? Yes? What if I were to tell you that we were not comprised initially of many base beings, but we are the base being? So that changes everything. We didn't come from A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. We are the base of A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Like I said, we're 1,000 years behind. All these base beings have come back to make sure things go in their direction. So, what do we call the snakeoid people? The snake people? We call them the Naga. The Naga's coming back. And what do we call the reptiles? The reptilians. The reptilians are coming back. And I've already made a video on the grays coming back, which are us too. Every one of these species started with our species. We didn't come from them. They came from us. And this was the revelation that was so enormous, because we have been told the complete opposite. You want to know why they will never annihilate us? Because they would be annihilating themselves. It's like going back and killing your great-grandparents. Where do you stand in that picture now? So when I came across this, I thought, well, of course, everything here is an inversion. And I've always said, this place is working backwards. I get the feeling that everything's already been done and we're just going backwards. It's like backwards. Starting from the beginning and starting over again. Why are we having timeline wars? What are these timeline wars actually about? So I started looking into it because it's all correlated. The puzzle pieces are finally fitting in. And then let's look at the bigger picture. If you were a reptilian and you wanted everything to go your way, down your road, and you were the conquering species overall, you would want to manipulate the base species. That's us. So if you're a Naga, which is a snakeoid being, you would have your own set of agendas. If you are a gray, you also have your own set of agendas because you know that cloning is a dead end and you want something to happen where you're not going to dead end. So you're going to do everything you can to give a heads up on the species and how this is going and what have you. I'm going to go into a little story here. 2 days ago, I was talking to Arthur on the phone before I was going to go to sleep because we were having this in-depth conversation about what I'm talking about now. And it was getting late, and I said, well, I'm going to have to cut this. I got to go to bed. So I went into the kitchen, and I turned off the lights. And I turned on my little salt lamp. I had turned it off, so the house was a bit dark. So I went to the hallway and clicked on the light, and then I went to bed. And my kitty cats have to sleep out here because they'll keep me up all night trying to lay all over me and purring, and it's too much. So they come out here and sleep. They have beds everywhere. On occasion, I'll let them sleep with me, but that means I'll be up all night. So in the morning, I woke up. I opened the door, and the hallway was flooded with lights on. And it's like, what the heck is going on here? So I went into the kitchen, and I flipped off the lights, and I'm like, somebody wants me to be aware that I had a visitation again last night, and they left the kitchen lights on. So I would question, why are the kitchen lights on? So then I started looking into it, and I was kind of blocked on some of it, but the overall initial thing was, it's time. Run your mouth, say what you gotta say, it's time. And so now I'm making this video about the chimeras and how it initially starts. This is the split into the multiple races of chimera-ing. So how are they doing it? Bam, bam, bam is how it starts. Why are they using snake V and any kind of bam? And it's changing you on what? A cellular level? How do you begin to chimera? Like I said, you had to do it in a test tube. You have to do it in a clinical setting. It is never going to happen in nature. A snake is not going to be forming with a bird or a owl or a fish or a human or anything. And then you have to look at why the snake first. Or are there other things in different so that it splits in the multiple factions that it's going to? Yes, it's the beginning of the chimera-ing, and this is why they did the genetic altering. It is the beginning of chimera-ing. So there probably will be other things found in this, in different batches, I'm sure, to start the chimera-ing, to split the human species into the existing species that are on a different place on the timeline, if you want to put it like that. And I thought, oh, how interesting. I mean, it's horrible, but how interesting. So I started thinking about some of my videos I had done priorly. And I recalled the one I did last summer. I was wearing a black shirt. I was out in nature, and I sat down and I started talking about a dream that I had where I look like I do. My entire reality is in devastation, and I'm walking by a river and I see all kinds of our reality in the river, like bikes and what have you. But the water is clear, the vegetation is pristine. It's just our reality is pretty shit as far as buildings and what have you and roads, and that's all destroyed. And I looked in the mirror when I had gone into this reality, when I walked by a mirror, because I was with some of my family members, and I noticed that my eyes, when I came in, slit to a thin slit like a cat or a snake. And I'm like, what's that all about? And then I looked around and everybody had these eyes. Snake eyes. Humanoid to snake eyes. So that was a dream or of foretelling of what's to come. I had no idea at the time when I had that dream what exactly that meant. But that was sent to me, given to me to let me know what would be coming in our reality. And now here it is, the beginning of the chimeraing. So all these people that are running around and they're so whatever on this snake V thing. No, it's not real. You know, here's how it goes. They've had a very long time to create synthetic whatever. Synthetic snail poison, synthetic scorpion poison, synthetic snake poison, synthetic starfish poison. Any kind of poison known to man that's out in nature, they've had a long time to work on it. A very long time. And if you don't believe me, please start looking up patents for these things and find out what their base is in. It could be a base in snake venom, a base in scorpion venom. You name it, they've patented it. They've changed it synthetically so they can patent it. And if you want to sit there and say no such thing, please start looking at patents. That's all I'm asking. Don't believe what somebody said. Do the research yourself. Go find out. So, it's very curious how everything has been inverted and twisted. We are not comprised of all of them. They are comprised of us. And I mean all of them. That's your whatever species. We are the base model. There you go. It's as simple as that. And then you'd have to go back and wonder why they said you came from monkeys. We did not. And why we became, of course, Neanderthal. No, we're not. We are a perfect being. We've always been a perfect being in this creation, in the creation of matter. We were designed by the Almighty Source in perfection, which we are Source. There it is. So, there is an entirely different aspect that has never been given out because it was such a guarded secret. Yes, at one time we were enormous, and then of course we were petri dished down to a smaller size, but we were still what we are, even though now we're shut down and we're coming back into it again. I am going to say this because this might be happening to you out there. In your form, if you have not been tampered with by this, certain things might be happening to you. I had this conversation with several people about that I have noticed that when I drop something in my hand, I've already caught it in my other hand and I haven't even thought about it. It's just, I've caught it. The other day, several days ago, I was outside and I had two chairs out there and Al had come over, which is my neighbor down the street, and we were talking. And then Faith came over and then we were all talking and we were standing up underneath the big umbrella because it was very sunshiny. And a gust of wind came and the umbrella started to just go instantly. This is a big umbrella. In that moment, when I saw the gust of wind hit the umbrella, I didn't want my umbrella to get damaged. So I had just watched it waver like real slow motion and start to slowly move down, and I grabbed the metal pole. And after I had grabbed the metal pole halfway down, and this thing is kind of heavy. First off, it didn't weigh anything. And next thing, it was all done in like slow motion. It was weird. Al and Faith are standing there watching me. And they're like, their face was like in astoundment because I've got now this umbrella in my hand. And they're like, how did you do that? Faith starts going off. How did you do that? How did you do that? I'm like, what are you talking about? What's wrong with you two? Well, to them, it looked like I had just stood here and in the very next frame, the umbrella's in my hand and I caught it from falling. They didn't see the in-between. And I'm like, and they were saying stuff to me, it didn't register. Well, the next morning, I started thinking about that and thinking about every time I go to drop something, I've already got it. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a part of the awakening your DNA. What I realized was that to me, Since I raised my vibration, I had no idea it even happened. It happened naturally. I didn't intend it to happen. It just happened. When you're on a frequency, because remember, all frequencies are here. They're all here. It's for you to traverse the frequencies that are here. I stepped into a higher frequency. I don't know how I did it. I just did it. It was natural, like breathing. You don't think about it. You just do it. And when I moved into a higher frequency, everything slowed down because I'm still in their frequency. So the only thing that sped up was me. And for me, everything went into slow mode because being in this frequency around me was so slow, it was like a snail falling. All I did was hold my hand out, and I just wrapped my hand around it, and there it was. The umbrella was in my hand. And it's like, when I came out of that, I'm just standing there, and they're flipping out. So when we transverse these frequencies, you might not even be aware you've done it, just like me. But to them, because they were in the 4D frequency, and I had no idea what frequency I was in, looked like I went from standing here and then I was over here holding the umbrella in the next frame. When in reality, there was a whole bunch of sequences, but they could not cognitively see that because they were not in my frequency. Now, everything happens for a reason. I've been doing this about catching things, and it's like, even I was like, wow, I caught that. I didn't even know it hardly fell, and I already had it in my other hand. But I do know that it felt like it was in slow motion when I would catch things. Like, wow, that fell so slowly. So I'm putting this out there to see if anyone else is experiencing this also. I'm experiencing it now for weeks and weeks and weeks, maybe even months. But I've noticed that it's becoming more prevalent. Like all of a sudden, I'm just in and out, and I don't even realize it other than the fact that everything is moving in slow mode for me. So this is happening to our base species, and this is what's being trying to be prevented. These people that are going to be chimera down the line won't be having this because it puts them onto another frequency. These shells in this human form have such a height they could reach that I'm sure the other species are like, wow, they'll outgrow us big time. And of course, this doesn't want to be done by some of these species that are coming out of us as base species. Their progression is going to be much slower. And I don't even know if they have a ceiling they're going to hit or not, but in this form, there's no ceiling. It's just a matter of opening everything up and waking up to it. So I wanted to definitely do this video about the chimering, about what this is all really about, that the split is not only the metaphysical split, but the split in the humanoid itself to create all the other humanoid beings out there. We are the base model. And this is why we're so important. And this is why they do what they do. So I just wanted to put that out there. Please write in my comment section if anything's happened to you, if you've had any experiences about this stuff. Let's all get past whatever's being thrown at us in the media. Let's start looking and putting these puzzle pieces together on a higher aspect, because everything is done as a diversion. So you don't continue to go down the road you need to be on. So, okay, then I guess I'll end the video, drink my coffee, put my books into the bookshelf if I can find room. I'll have to rearrange. And everybody have a great day. Bye.